Hey, welcome to MashTalk, the show where we catch up with the most interesting people in tech. I'm your host, Mashable Tech editor Pete Paschal. This is our rapid fire edition at CES 2019. We're talking with all kinds of people, all kinds of companies. There's a ton of stuff to go over, and I'm talking to one of the biggest players at the show, or a representative of that player. It's Google, and this is Google's Lilian Rincon. Lilian, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you. Welcome to our playground.
Yeah, it's a big playground. You guys got a lot going on at the show here.
That's right. It's 3 times the size. We got a ride upstairs.
You got the monorail. Well,
we have the monorail. That's right.
A few other places I have noticed.
Yes.
So tell me, first tell me what you guys have announced here at the show. What are the big things you're trying to the messages you're getting at?
Right. So, I mean, our mission statement, we've actually really simplified it this year. In 2019, our goal is to be the easiest way, the best way to get things done. For us, this means really meeting users where they're at. And so thinking about where's voice and an assistant actually a superpower? Well, clearly in the home when you're cooking, when you're listening to music, etc., but also in places like the car, let's say, so we have a bunch of new things in the car as well, like bringing Assistant to Google Maps. A lot of people, actually 1 billion kilometers are driven every day using Google Maps. I'm Canadian, so I'll say it in kilometers. And we have brought the full Assistant to Google Maps. So you can be driving and you can play your favorite podcast, play your podcast. You can listen to music, and we have some new things around messaging because we know that people want to text, while they're driving. And we have made some improvements. Basically, now you'll be able to read messages from WhatsApp and Facebook Messenger, as well as SMS, as well as making it even easier to send messages. So, for example, if you're asking a question, we'll provide auto punctuation, and even do some really cool things like if you're in Google Maps, we know exactly where you are, right? And we can calculate essentially when you're going to get to your destination. So you can say things like, "Hey Google, share my ETA," and we'll calculate that for you and share it along.
The car is definitely one of the next frontiers for digital assistants. I mean, it's obviously been ongoing, but I feel like the last year and then this coming year is going to be quite an inflection point. Now, can clarify just a couple things. So, would you need Android Auto to get this Google Assistant experience in the car? Is it through the phone? How exactly is it sort of? How does the person sort of encounter it?
Yeah, so I mean, you can access Assistant through various means on your phone. Even if you have an iPhone. If you have an iPhone and you have Google Maps, you can access your Assistant that way. If you have an iPhone or an Android phone, either way, you can also just download the Google Assistant app and access it that way as well. We've also been working with car accessory manufacturers to create these essentially dongles that go plug into your car so that we can bring Assistant to more cars than ever before. We know that our problem is in the car, sometimes it's hard for your phone to hear you. So we've done a few things is working with these car accessory manufacturers that have echo canceling technology so that you're clearly heard. And the other thing actually that I announced this morning is you are now able to unlock your phone just using your voice. So you don't need to fibble around with your phone. You can just say, "Hey Google," and it'll unlock, and you can use everything that you can normally do with Assistant.
Nice. So how good a platform is CES for you guys? I mean, obviously, Google's always kind of been around for a long time, but it wasn't until last year, CES 2018, it was a gigantic splash.
Yes.
I mean, I just take it 3 times the size. That must have gone well for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, Assistant is only 2.5 years old. So last year was the first time we were at CES. This is our 2nd year. We decided to go a little bigger this year. And it's going really well. It's a great opportunity for us to meet a lot of device manufacturers, a lot of companies, and to dream up the next generation of products. Nice.
So I feel like also with assistants in general and Google Assistant that I'm starting to see a lot more. I guess not a lot more, but I mean slowly. There's been I don't know if it's full-on integration, but certainly cooperation. I think there's an acknowledgement. People will talk to multiple assistants, whether it's Alexa, Siri, Google Assistant. I think there was a perception of a horse race and who's going to win, and now I think there's much more of a acknowledgement that the future, there's probably people are going to have multiple of these things and use them for different things, and that's simply how it's going to be for probably the foreseeable future. Is that your sense as well?
For us, we really think about what is the Google Assistant and how can we be most helpful to users. And absolutely, I mean, if people have multiple of them, that's okay too. We're really trying to create an ecosystem of these, assistant experiences across your day so that if you choose, you can use your assistant throughout your day, either in the home, in the car, or on the go.
So for the car, with the third-party stuff, I feel like there's often a I don't know, something that gets missed. There's something about the experience that doesn't quite translate. Like when I've used a couple of these gadgets, at least with Alexa, and there's been sort of a I don't know. It's not quite the microphone technology. It's more that like invoking a third-party device with another third-party assistant on a car system, which it's not. It's just the Bluetooth. I don't know. It's very.
It's definitely improved a lot. I can't speak for other companies, but for Google Assistant, we've made a really great effort around that. I encourage you to try. We have a new device with Anchor and one with JBL. And what it does is essentially it allows your phone to connect to your car stereo via either Bluetooth or aux, so that you can use your phone essentially via voice.
Even an iPhone. But the dream is, of course, to have it sort of built right into the dash, into these car systems.
Yeah.
But I feel like several sort of things sort of have to happen before that sort of gets all worked out. Or
well, no, that is currently the plan, right? We've talked about this before with Android Auto, as you mentioned, is one great way to either have it on your phone or built into the car.
And is it? I just feel like with cars themselves, they're running these sort of radically different sort of software packages, whether it's
sometimes
QNX, Android,
right? Right.
And then at the same time, the whole industry sort of takes a while. Like, I mean, people buy a car
to catch up,
every 10 years or so.
And actually, this is why we really like these car accessories, because that I mentioned, because it doesn't matter what you're running or how old your car is. This will enable you, as long as you have Google Assistant on your phone, to be able to, do all of the great things that you can do with your assistant.
So I feel like the general narrative is that Alexa had a big head start, obviously. They're on tons of devices and they have a ton more skills, but that the scuttlebutt anyway is Google simply just has better AI. Is that sort of generally your...
Google has better AI, and we think about it slightly differently. We don't think about skills as the race. I mean, we've mentioned before, we support over 1 million actions. We really think about what are the types of things that people want to do, and whether that's through a first party or through a third party, we try to enable those things. I would say the second thing is, yes, we have a lot of really great machine learning and artificial intelligence, products and experts at Google. And so we've done a really, intentional, focused work on making you speaking with our assistant as natural, conversational as possible. And so, for example, at I/O last year, we talked about you can ask for multiple things at once. We shared earlier today, you can, you don't have to keep repeating the thing you're talking about.
Right. Sort of a follow-up.
It understands context, and it understands, you and what you're trying to do. And really for us, that's a big effort. In addition to bringing Assistant to as many people around the world, right? And so another kind of big announcement for us today was, we're bringing Assistant from 14 countries, I think, to 80 countries.
Wow.
And we support nearly 30 languages now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Must have taken a lot of work to get all that to where it is today. So with all this, it all sounds great. And in CES, I feel like sometimes it's a bit of a bubble, and like, oh yeah, AI assistants, they can do all this stuff for you. But I also feel like the conversation that has been had in the greater tech community over the past, say, 2 years over digital privacy, over sort of the bargain you're making when you bring these things, these great technologies in your home, has sort of been an undercurrent. And it's not here as much this week, but I feel like particularly with a brand like Google, it's got to be on your mind all the time. How do you think about getting that message out at the same time you really want to, put Assistant, as you say, into the hands of everybody who wants it?
Absolutely. I mean, I think honestly, we get this question asked a lot. For us, we think about privacy all the time, whether we're building a device or whether we're building a feature. Something that I want to make sure that people understand is we don't listen unless you use the hot word. So unless you say, hey Google or okay Google, the devices are not listening. And the other thing too is that we want to make sure that users feel completely in control of their data. So everything that the assistant hears will be in something we call My Activity. And if you don't want the assistant to know about it, you can delete it right there. So a user always has control.
Nice. Is there anything else that you need to, I forgot to ask you, anything else you're announcing at the show?
Well, do you want me to summarize the announcements? I feel like I didn't really summarize the announcements. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
What are you guys doing here?
Okay, yeah. So today we're really focused on sharing the 3 different journeys, if you will, that we want the assistant to be really great at. First of all, in the home, we have a new set of devices, a new category of devices that we're calling smart clocks. This is one of them, actually, is the Lenovo smart clock, which has been really handcrafted to be a bedside device. So it has like new things like a smart alarm, that will like have suggestion chips that suggest when you should wake up. We do that based on like how normally do you wake up, and also things that might be on your calendar to kind of help you with your day. It also has something that we're calling a gentle alarm. And what that does is there's a lot of research, right, that shows that actually waking up with sunlight is better than sound. And so the device will, I will use light to try to wake you up before it makes noise.
Gradually. Yeah, I've got one of those sunrise alarm clocks. It's very analog though.
Yeah, okay. You should try this one. The other thing that we talked about was, the smart home. We've had an explosion of these devices. But for as smart as they are, sometimes they're hard to set up. You have to download an app and do a bunch of things. Yeah. And so today we announced a new toolkit essentially that will be available to device manufacturers later this year. And what that does is actually it enables device manufacturers to create these types of devices at a lower cost. And from a user perspective, it enables us to create devices that set up with the assistant much more easily. So you don't have to download an app. I don't know if you're familiar with the GE light bulb, but you just screw it in and it just knows, it auto connects essentially to your assistant.
So you don't need to mess with a bunch of different kinds of hubs and that kind of thing. And my house is like 3 or 4 of them.
Exactly. We see that as a pain point, and we really want to make a concerted effort to create a new set of devices that solve this for users.
So that's the dream, right? So that you buy all these kind of different things from different manufacturers, and yet you can still talk to it through, whether it's Google Assistant, Alexa, whoever, and maybe both. But it sort of rapidly becomes a mess. So it sounds like this is sort of a step towards like...
It's Google's first step. It's something we're calling Google Assistant Connect, to trying to make these devices that are easier to set up for users. Yeah, and then on the go, is the other kind of key context, that is important for users. And so in the car, as I mentioned, first thing we're doing is, Google Maps. I think the other thing too is on the phone, right? Clearly we've got a lot of users that are on the phone. And so we're always thinking about like, how can the assistant be really helpful on your phone? Last year, you probably remember we announced this visual snapshot of your day, right? Which kind of curates information that might be relevant to you. Today, we announced a set of new things for travelers, So many of us flew in here today. And we know that a pain point is like having to look up, what airline, what's the confirmation code, all these things. Now you'll just be able to easily check in just using your voice. Just say like, hey, Google, check into my flight, and it'll do it all for you. It'll download your boarding pass and just make it super simple.
When you sort of integrate an assistant with like a service like, say, I don't know, Spotify or a music service or something like that, and there's definitely all kinds of like apps that have their own language, terms, way of... maybe different ways of processing natural language. How do you, how much of that work do you do? How much did they do? Is there still a lot of work to be done? I do feel like sometimes when I use these things, I'll say, try the same command on a music service as I do on, say, like a podcast app, and it doesn't quite work. Is that problem sort of getting solved?
It's something that is an active problem that we're working on with the Spotifys and the YouTubes of the world, right? I think for us, we try to do a lot of the heavy lifting. We feel like as your assistant, we should try to understand you and what you're asking for and do the best job that we can. And so we try to do a lot of the actual transcription, the figuring out like what is the thing that you're trying to do. And then, we partner with the third-party company or the first-party company to get whatever it is that you need done. But, in essence, for media, which is kind of what you're talking about, we try to do as much of the heavy lifting as possible.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. What's Google Interpreter Mode?
Yes, the Google Interpreter Mode is one of my favorite new features. So I'm half Chinese, half Spanish. I speak 2.5 languages. And for me, growing up, I noticed that speaking to someone who doesn't understand you can be a real pain point for many users. And so today we announced a new feature called Interpreter Mode that allows Assistant to translate across 27 different languages. So, you can essentially imagine this at an airport, at a hotel, at your house, maybe if you've got a multilingual family. And in real time, it'll translate between 2 languages and also show you visually also the translation.
Wow, so like I could have my phone, or it could be through a Google Home device, or...
So we're starting with the home devices, so Google Home and also the smart displays first to start.
So I would be speaking within audible range of the speaker.
Yes.
And as I'm speaking, it will start translating and speaking
the other language so that we can have a conversation.
Would it wait till I'm done, or would it start as I'm speaking? you know,
It will wait till you're done.
Got it.
Yeah.
And then it'll say, and then so we have this sort of two-way conversation.
So we can have this two-way conversation through the speaker. Yeah.
Nice. And sorry, how many languages did you say?
27.
Oh, wow. That's impressive. Usually these things start with like 1 or 2.
Right.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, I look forward to trying that out. And again, like I look forward to your taking over the entire show in 2020.
You.
Really appreciate it. Thank you.
Awesome.
Lilian.
Thank you.
Take care.